Hi everybody, today we want to talk about list in Grasshopper. So the first one I want to create the list of some geometry in Rhino and then import them to the Grasshopper. So for example, I type circle, list of circles. For example, I create a circle here and then press Alt and copy this one. For example, 4 circles. And then for example, points and create some point, a list of points. And not bad to create some open curves. So I type curve and a linear curve. So okay, that's good. I want to import them to the Grasshopper. So as you know, in prompts and in this hexagonal geometry, the hexagonal shapes, that we can import everything from Rhino to the Grasshopper. As you can remember, it's called container. So it's a curve. So I want a curve here, set multiple curves and choose this one. So this is the container of the list, container of a list of curves. And for the circle, again, I right click on it, set multiple curves, and this one is a list of circles. And for points, of course, we need points here, and right click on it, set multiple points, and choose points here. So we have 3 lists. The first list contains 2 open curves. The second list contains so many points, and for the last one we have 4 circles as a list. So I want to choose one of them from the list. For example, I want to choose this point from our list, or I don't know, I want to select the circle from this list. Before that, I want to know what's inside of the list. For this one, I double click on canvas and type panel. Here we can see the panel and we can connect our list to the panels. As you can see in panels, we have 2 line here, 2 open lines here. The first one is the index of the first one is 0 and the second one is 1. As you know, in Grasshopper and most programming language, indexes start from 0. So here we have the index of 0, which means the first curve, and 1, it means that the second curves. Or the other options for bringing panel to the canvas is shift and quotations and then press enter, and we can bring the panel to the canvas and then connect the point to the panel. And here you can see we have 13 points from 0 to 12. Okay, and for the last list, again we need a panel and connect the curve to the panels. And as you can see, we have 4 curves from 0 to 3. So as I told you, I want to choose one of them, one index from the list. For example, in a curve, in this curve, these open curves, I want the index of 1. For this one, I double click on canvas and type list item. Where's the list item? I can choose the list item and Control Alt and click. It shows that the list item exists in sets and list here, the list item. So as we can see, the list item has 3 inputs. 2 of them are very important. The first one is the list that you want to choose from them. So I connect the curve to the list, and the second one is the index that you want to choose. For example, I want to choose the index 1. So I connect the 1 with number slider to the index, and so the outputs is a curve, as you can see here, is a curve, is the output, is the selected curve, is the output of the list items. If you want to see better, we can connect this one to the extrude. For example, I double click on canvas and type extrude. As you can see, the extrude has 2 inputs. The first one is the base. It means that the geometry that we want to extrude. So I connect the item to the base. And for the direction, we need a direction that we want to extrude. So I want to extrude this one in a Z direction. So I choose the Z direction and connect the unit Z to the directions. As you can see, it's increased and extruded in the Z directions. If you want to change and manipulate the factors, I mean the amount of extrusions, we can connect, for example, 2.36 to the factors. And we can manipulate and increase or decrease the amount of extrusions. If you change the index, for example, you put it in a index 0, as you can see, we can extrude the first curve. For the points, for example, I want to select the point, the index of 6 from all points. So I double click on canvas, then I type list item and connect the point to the list item. And for the index, I type 6. It means that the item 6. So we can see the point here. And for the circles, the list of circles, I want to choose the circle with the index of 2. So I type list item again and connect the list to the list. And for the index, I type 2. So we can see the circle with the index of 2. To see better, we can connect this to the boundary surface. If you connect the list item to the boundary surface, we can see the surfaces here. The boundary surface is a component that can create a surface from a planar and closed curve. Two necessary conditions: closed and planar. So this is a boundary surface. If you change it, for example, to the 3, to 1, to 2, 1, and 0, you just have 3 indexes. So this is the least items. If you want to choose more than one items, what can we do? We have 2 things. If you want to connect this one, if you want to choose, for example, 2 circles from the list, we can use the panel instead of number sliders. So in a panel, I type, for example, 0 and 2. It means that I want the index of 0 and the index of 2. So I connect this instead of number slider to the index. But as you can see, it's a red one. As you know, the red, it is an error. So I go to the balloon and read the error. Data conversion failed from text to integer. It means that if you want to connect the panel to the index, the grasshopper knows them or knows it as a text, not as integer. The index needs integers. To change it, so I right click on the panel and type multi and press multi-line data. Now it has a index, so it can understand it as an integer. So this is the integers, and I choose 2 of them. Or if you want to, for example, select the index of 1, we can add it to this one, and we have 3 of them. The other method that we can do this one, for example, I want to choose 2. Go to the output of the component list item. So here we can see this sign. We can press this sign, and as you can see, this is for the first one, is for the second one, third, and fourth. Okay, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we can have the items or objects separately in the output. Okay, the other component that here and today we want to talk about them is the call index. So I double click on canvas and type call index. Where is the call index? Again, I press Ctrl Alt and click. As you can see, in sets and in sequence, you can see the call index. Okay, the call index is different from the list item. If in list item you could choose one of them from the list, in call index you remove one of them from the list. So I connect the curve to the list, and I disconnect from the list item to see the bird. So I connect this one to the call index, and for index I type, for example, 1, and I connect 1 to the index. So the output is the first curve. I mean that you remove the first index, the curve with the index of 1, and now we have the curve with the index of 0. In the point is better to see because we have a lot of points and disconnected. And again, double click on canvas and type call index, and I connect the point to the call index, and for indexes I type, for example, 10. So as you can see, we remove the index of 10 and we have the rest of the points. So with call index you can remove a special index and you can have the rest of the geometry in a list. Or if you want more than one index, so in a panel you type 1, for example, 2, 5, and 6, for example, and then multi-line data, you press the multi-line data and connect this one. And now you remove these indexes and now you have the rest. And for example, for the circles, again, we can have call index. I connect the curve to the call index, and for example, I connect it to 2 and disconnect from the list item. As you can see, we have it's better to connect this to the boundary surface to see per. As you can see, we remove the circle with the index of 2 and now we have the rest of this one. We can have some exercises with these two curves with list item and call index. For example, in these curves, I want to remove it. Just I want this curve, this component. For example, I have two components. The first one is set one curve. This is the first one, and this is the second one. So we have two curves, this one and this one. I want to divide them. For example, I type divide curve and connect the curve to the curve and the count, for example, 12. You know the divide curve from previous sessions, and I connect the curve with 12 counts. So we have the list of points at the output of this divide curve. You can see the division point is 13, and we have a list of point here, and we have a list of point here. For example, I want to connect the point with the index of 2 with the point with the index of, for example, 5 in this curve. So I type list item. We need two list items. For this one, I connect this to list item and choose 2 for the index. And for this one, I choose 5. So at the output of this list item are 2 points that we can connect 2 points with a line. So I choose line and connect this one, this point to this point. As you can see, we created a line between two selected points from a list. We can change the number slider and indexes, as you can see here, or this one. Okay, that's cool. And the other example for the call index, I can remove this one. And I type call index and this one. I want to remove the point with the index of 10, for example, from this. And I want to remove the point with the index of 5 in this list. And I want to connect them with line again to see the result. As you can see, this point is removed and this point is removed. The index of 2 and the index of 5 here, the index of 10, sorry, and the index of 5 here are removed, and the other are connected together. So if you want to correct and make it correct, we can the directions. You can use the flip curve and then connect it to this curve, as you can see here better. So these are the call index. And the last component today I want to talk about is call pattern. So I can remove them and go to call pattern. Sorry, dictation is wrong. Call pattern. So as you can see, the call patterns, you can import a list to the list of call patterns, and for call pattern you can create a pattern with the pattern of 0 and 1. 1 it means that do not remove from the list, and 0 it means that remove from the list. So I double click on canvas, and in a panel I type 0 and 1, and then, as you know, right click and multi-line data and call patterns. As you can see, it means that the first one, uh, remove the first one. We don't need the first one, but we need the second one. We don't need it, we need it. We don't need it, and we need it. These patterns continue to the last part of the list. Or we can choose it, for example, these patterns, 0, 1, 1. And you can see the result here, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So we have some points and we remove some other points with these patterns. And for this one, again, I want to connect the point to the call patterns. And again, you can see the patterns here. So it's not bad to connect them with line, this one and this one, and you can see the result here is so cool. So uh, I want to choose them another pattern, 0, 1, 0, or it's better to say 1, 0, and 0. Okay, you can see the result of this. If you want to change the call pattern, you can see different patterns and different shapes that you can create. So practice this part, and then we will continue as soon as possible. Have a nice time. Bye for now.